It was my 3rd year engaged to Ethan Hayes. Then his high school sweetheart, the one who got away, came back to town. Everyone was buzzing, wondering if he'd pick the new girl or the old flame. He pretty much made his choice clear by throwing a big birthday bash for her, like, right under my nose. With him, I was always the second choice. So, I dumped his ass and booked a study abroad program. Then one night, Ethan, drunk off his face, came banging on my door, practically begging with his eyes all red. The guy who opened the door? Turns out it was notorious bad boy, Luke Masters, shirtless with some fresh-looking hickeys on his collarbone. Luke looked down at Ethan, slow and deliberate, and drawled, "Knockin' on my girl's door at this hour? You got a death wish, buddy?" My 3rd engagement anniversary with Ethan rolled around, and he just ghosted me for our date night. Phone calls went straight to voicemail, texts went unanswered, the guy straight up vanished. I only found out what was up when my bestie, Chloe, texted me the news. His one who got away was back from overseas. The news was everywhere, photos of his ex at the airport, clutching a bouquet of vibrant red roses, looking all bashful at him. Ethan, on the other hand, was just dripping with heart-eyed devotion. I packed my things, totally deadpan, and went home. Chloe kept trying to comfort me, but I was weirdly calm, like I couldn't care less. See, everyone we knew, even people across the whole darn city, were playing the guessing game. Was Ethan going to pick me, his fiancée of 3 years, or his old flame, the girl he was supposedly still head over heels for? The next day, things were pretty obvious. Ethan was throwing a huge birthday party for his ex. The whole town was shaking their heads, whispering about how that ex-girlfriend magic was powerful enough to make even Mr. Big Shot lose his mind. I looked at my phone. Since last night, not a single call, not even a text trying to explain. If he wasn't gonna explain things, I'd go get the explanation myself. Chloe insisted on a makeover, a new killer outfit, and some salon magic. She wanted me to show up at that party and burn the place down. 7 p.m., the biggest hotel in town, was packed, champagne flowing, music pumping. You'd think it was a wedding reception or something. It was ridiculous. My own engagement party wasn't half as extravagant as this birthday do. The ex, Melissa, Missy, Sterling, was a musician, long hair, flowy white dress, a total sweetheart type. I guess a lot of guys go for that. She was standing there right next to Ethan, acting all couple Y, looking like they were right out of a fairy tale. Ethan, who's basically running the family empire now, was hot, no doubt about it. Before college, he was kind of a party boy, always out drinking and causing trouble. Then he fell hard for Missy in college, and he supposedly became this reformed player, completely devoted to her. But Missy wanted to study overseas, they didn't want to do long distance, so they called it quits. Ethan and I were practically childhood friends, families all mixed up together, so they thought we'd be good for each other. Plus, I had a bit of a thing for him, so I said yes to the engagement. After, Ethan took over the family company, slowed down on the late nights out, but still hit up the occasional corporate thing. The people who saw me come in all started whispering and making eyes, totally expecting some drama to go down. Ethan didn't notice me until his best buddy, Sam, called out, "Hey, future sis-in-law." Ethan turned around and he looked surprised, kinda frazzled. "What are you doing here?" I said, all calm and collected, "Just coming to wish Missy a happy birthday. Is that a problem? Am I not allowed at the party?" Ethan didn't say anything, but Missy chirped up, all sweet and southern, "Thank you for coming, it's really an honor to have you here, Miss Smith." I turned to Ethan, "So, got anything to say to me, from yesterday till now?" The party atmosphere instantly died, everyone's eyes locked on us. Ethan acted like it was nothing, like it wasn't a big deal at all. "Oh, Missy got back yesterday, we just went to dinner to catch up and it got late, so I didn't call you, nothing serious." See? I was always the one he chose last. I even had to ask him for an explanation. So, you ditch our anniversary date to catch up with your ex? And you weren't going to tell me if I hadn't come looking for you? Ethan just laughed, a nasty, mocking kind of sound. It's not like it's a federal offense, is it? Why do you have to be such a drama queen? I just smiled, all icy. I took off my engagement ring. Fine. Then, Ethan Hayes, as of right now, our engagement is off. We're done. Go live your life. I tossed the ring at him. Ethan's face went totally red. Sarah, you can't, you'll regret it. I just rolled my eyes at him and walked off, Chloe right behind me, giving him a piece of her mind. Ethan was livid, staring down at the ring on the floor, his eyes dark and dangerous. That very night, I accepted a visiting program in NYC. My family owns a pretty big business, but it's not my thing. I love writing and the arts, so I went straight to publishing after graduating. My older brother handles the family thing. A few days back, my manager talked about a visiting fellowship program, 2 months long. I wanted to be practical and said no, the time was just too long. But now? Nothing was gonna stop me. I booked a flight for the next morning and was headed to New York City. Chloe said that NYC was her territory, and she could introduce me to lots of cool guys, so she was coming along. The other night, after my fellowship class, I rushed over to meet Chloe for some drinks. Can we just chill for a sec? I asked Chloe. After a day of class, I just want to unwind. Chloe's choice was a pretty trendy bar in NYC. The minute we walked in, it was like a wall of heat and alcohol hit us. The music was blasting, lights were spinning, and people were dancing all over each other. It was so loud, I could barely hear myself think. Chloe dragged me into a private room, and thankfully it was a bit quieter. There were a bunch of people in there already, mostly Chloe's friends, a couple I recognized. I settled into a quieter corner. Next to me, half hidden by the low light, was a guy. Couldn't see his face, but the outline definitely said, hottie. He looked familiar, but I shrugged it off. Chloe pinched my arm. Hey, are you ready for me to set you up? 3 years on one guy is a waste. Come on, she continued, you need to get back out there. And, trust me, there's some prime rib here, way better than Ethan. I put a hand over her mouth. Enough, let me get a drink first. We'll talk about that later. Okay, but we are making this happen tonight. After a few rounds of drinks, I needed some fresh air, so I hit the restroom. Splashing my face with cold water helped clear my head a little. When I stepped out, I stopped for a moment. The hallway outside the restroom was usually pretty quiet, but tonight there was a tall guy leaning against the wall, his head down, looking at his phone. His skin was pale, but the veins in his arms popped out and his muscles were very defined. His hands, holding his phone, looked smooth and well-kept, a sharp contrast to the broad shoulders and narrow waist. He had an earring that was a blue stud and caught the light when he moved. It was Luke Masters, the bad boy son of one of New York's wealthiest families. I hadn't realized it was him in the booth earlier. I started to walk around him when he said, Miss Smith. His voice was husky. I'll give you a ride home. Just then my phone buzzed, a message from Chloe. I found someone to take you home, I'm gonna stay out and have fun, no worries. Why would you make Luke take me home? I asked myself, but she didn't reply, she was probably in the thick of the party. Luke and I had some history, our grandpas were war buddies and they talked about setting us up when we were kids. My family moved across the country and we kinda lost touch. We'd bump into each other every now and then at parties or galas. If things had been different, he could have been my fiancé instead of Ethan. Luke drove me back to my hotel. I don't know if it was the drinks, but I felt like a wild animal was watching me, like I was being stalked by a big cat. I was a bit tipsy and shaky on my feet, and Luke ended up walking me to my room. As we got to the door, I thanked him, and then, like an idiot, I said, want to come in for a bit? Before I knew it, Luke pushed me up against the wall, practically radiating a kind of controlled intensity. Before I could react, he kissed me hard. I was already drunk, and that kiss just stole my breath. I turned my head, trying to catch my breath. He picked me up and laid me on the bed, his forehead pressed against mine, his voice low and raw. "Sarah, you were always mine. You'll only ever be mine." I could see his eyes, usually so casual, now blazing with something possessive. Then he whispered, all gravelly, "Can I?" I wrapped my arms around his neck, and his kiss came back with even more fire. "Luke, are you a dog?" I huffed and laughed. "You're trying to eat me alive." I could hear his chuckle, low and seductive. He slowed down and got gentle, always reassuring me, his voice kind of excited. I have no idea how long it lasted, but I fell asleep, completely exhausted. All I remember was that he helped me into the shower, held me close, and then we were sleeping. I woke up with my muscles all screaming. Next to me, Luke was lying on his side, resting his head on one hand, the other hand was playing with mine. He looked happy, smiling. "Sarah, you're stuck with me now. You took my innocence." I wanted to throw up, this was bad. "Babe, I think you might be pregnant. I am so good." I kicked him out of bed and went to the shower. When I came out, Luke was holding my phone, looking like a scorned ex. I shoved him into the bathroom. It was a call from Sam. "What's up?" I said. "Hey, sis-in-law, when you coming back? What do you want?" "Ethan's birthday is in a few days. Are we doing it the same way as usual?" Ethan's birthday was always my job, booking places and inviting friends. What a joke, now. "We're done, Sam. You can plan his funeral for all I care." I wanted to hang up, but asked him another question. Did he tell you about the breakup, or am I just supposed to be a part-time girlfriend? Then I hung up. Ethan had been on a bender since the night of the party. Sam didn't want to see him self-destruct, so he called me, but things didn't go as planned. "Dude, give her some time. She will come around. What's there to apologize about? I was celebrating an old friend. It's not the end of the world." "Dude, it was your anniversary, and she took off her ring. That's kind of a big deal." "You know what, fine. If she wants to leave, let her. I don't care who leaves who." He stomped off, his face stormy. Once he was out the door, the wind hit his face, but he still felt this burning anger inside him. "She's going to regret this. And who cares? I don't even care if she comes back." It had been 2 weeks, not a single phone call, not even a text. I was gonna make her an extra special birthday this year, but fine, she can just stay away. It was the weekend. Luke called when I was still in bed. "Get up, sleepyhead, I'm taking you horseback riding. Get dressed, I'm downstairs." He was standing by his car, wearing his blue stud earrings and looking effortlessly cool. We went to a fancy ranch. He'd even brought a riding outfit just for me. As I galloped around the track, the wind in my face, the sound of the hooves thundering beneath me, I felt my fatigue melt away. It was like I could finally breathe. "Luke, catch me if you can." He spurred his horse and raced toward me. Watching him, wild and beautiful, my heart did a crazy little flip. I jumped off my horse and into his arms. He pressed his face against my cheek. That night he took me out for some fancy barbecue. He ordered everything for me, making sure the spice was mild. He rinsed my utensils in water. Then he poured juice, and made sure all of the cooked meat was on my side of the table. It was hard to believe the guy was a New York hotshot who was also taking care of all the small details. Ethan had always been like a spoiled kid. I'd be the one doing everything for him. And all those little things he should have been doing for me, I just did them for myself. Day after day, I just lost myself. All I knew was to love him, and forgot about myself. What a joke. That night, we were on the couch, and Luke asked, "So, were you happy today, Sarah?" Yeah, it was amazing, thank you. So, now I get to be your boyfriend, right? I froze. Luke, what kind of girlfriends have you had before? Never had any. What? Seriously? He sniffed my hair. I already had a fiancé, why would I want a girlfriend? You have a fiancé? We had a thing as kids, you were always going to be mine. But I was engaged. That guy? If I didn't see that you liked him a little bit, I would have swept you up a long time ago. I didn't know what to say. He was always in the news for being rich and powerful, doing crazy things, like racing cars and battling corporate rivals. But I'd never heard of him having any relationships before. It's not fair to you, I need to sort things out. And just broke off the engagement. He pinched my lips together with his fingers and kissed me hard. It's okay, what's mine is mine. It can wait. He didn't let me sleep that night. He wouldn't stop asking, who do you belong to? I didn't want to talk to him, so he started kissing me and whispering, getting me all worked up. I finally cracked, teary and breathless, yours. I'm yours. He said in my ear, that means I will always be yours, right? I didn't even remember it was Ethan's birthday, I was so busy with my study and dealing with Luke. Then Sam called me. Sis-in-law, are you in town? It's Ethan's birthday, we're going to Blue Night, are you coming? He was sneaking glances at Ethan, checking his reaction to the phone call. I sighed. Sam, don't call me that anymore, we're over. It's done. I don't want to hear about him anymore, so bye. I hung up. Ethan was furious. No one dared to look at him. Dude, maybe you should talk to her? Sam stammered. What's there to talk about? If she wants to come, she can come, but I don't need her. Fine, we're done, then, for good. His chest was rising and falling, his eyes were red. He threw all of the bottles on the floor. Sam tried to get through to him. Dude, if you don't want to lose her, you have to stop being so stubborn, you have to go ask her for forgiveness. I am not asking her for forgiveness, I could have any woman I want, I don't need her. Dude, she's probably not coming back, you'll regret this. Ethan stopped, no I won't. His voice was shaky, and he probably didn't even notice. Sam stopped pushing. It was clear that Ethan didn't even know what was going on with him. I was dead asleep at 2 a.m. when my phone was blowing up with calls. Luke grabbed it. It was a random number, but it kept calling. He picked it up on speaker. Take it easy, dude. Sarah, you picked up, I am so sorry, Ethan wants you to come and see him. We didn't know what else to do. It wasn't Sam's number, because I blocked them both. Ethan, are you drunk? You are so annoying. Sarah, come back. Come back. Ethan was drunk and yelling. Dude, we need to get him home. Sarah, are you okay? Luke said. I shook my head. Just get him home and don't call me again. Luke cradled my face, his eyes intense. You aren't going back, right? I could sense what he was saying, but I had to go back, but there was zero chance that I would go back to Ethan. You mean that? It took a few years for me to realize who I should be with. I only spent 3 years with Ethan, I am so happy that it was only that much. He looked at me, all happy. So, are we together, like a real couple? He said. I need to think about it, I don't want to be unfair to you. I liked him, I just didn't want him to think that he was just a placeholder while I dealt with my old engagement. He looked so sad and fell back down on the bed. The next day I talked to Chloe, I wanted to tell her my concerns. What are you talking about? Ethan was a total loser. Luke is amazing. Do you think that I would get back with Ethan? Absolutely not. You are done with him. So, you are going to move on? You will find someone? I've already moved on, in my mind he is dead to me. Okay, so, it will happen eventually. And Luke is here waiting for you, and you already like him. So don't worry, you would be stupid to leave him. I stopped, stunned. He liked me for all this time? I thought he was just stuck with that deal from our families. Chloe's parents got divorced when she was in high school, so she was bouncing between NYC and here. She was friends with Luke, that is how I met her. Apparently all of the gifts that she had given me had been sent by Luke. Beautiful dresses, books by my favorite author, bracelets and necklaces with my name on them. I couldn't stop crying. My heart was aching. She wiped away my tears. It's okay, you deserve him, and so does he. You guys just need to stop overthinking it. Call Luke, he will be so happy. Luke was so happy, the bad boy of NYC was laughing like a fool. I was still smiling when he called to come and pick me up. He was standing by the car, he looked handsome and put together. Just looking at him, my heart did a little leap. I ran and jumped into his arms. What's the occasion? I said. I'm taking you home forever. Ethan would always pick up the engagement ring I had thrown at him. She never took off her ring. He remembered when she lost it in the house and searched for it everywhere. Sam asked him if he would be happy if she never came back. He would be miserable, but he was too stubborn. Sometimes he didn't know who he loved, Sarah or Melissa. He had been friends with Sarah for years, he didn't realize how much she meant to him. When Melissa left, he just got drunk for a week and moved on. This time it was different. For a month, he was just thinking about Sarah. She was not very nice, she was always happy, she didn't cook very well, but she always cooked food for him and brought it to work. She would always be nagging at him for drinking, but always had hangover soup ready. He thought that it was done, that she would come back, but she blocked him. But if he apologized, she would come back. And he would get her a new engagement date, and it would be wonderful. He called Sam. Where is Sarah? I am going to talk to her. Sam was hesitant. What happened? Ethan asked. Well, the night of your birthday, I called Sarah, because you were screaming her name, and I heard a man's voice. What? Ethan said, his voice trembling. No way, you must be mistaken. It was around 2 a.m., it was Luke Masters. And they are now dating. Ethan gripped his phone, his voice shaking. That is not possible. Dude, I made sure to ask around, and they are together. Ethan stopped talking. Sam was starting to realize that Sarah would not come back, maybe it wasn't meant to be. I thought about my meeting with Ethan. He was very spoiled, and always got what he wanted. I didn't hate him for breaking things off. We were done. I had my own life, he would get back with Melissa, all good. But the meeting was not what I thought it would be. He was standing outside my hotel, he looked like he had been waiting a while, his eyes red and his face haggard. I had just hung up with Luke, he had been called away on business. Sarah, he called to me, in his sweet voice. I remembered when everything had been okay. But those days were gone. It has been a while. My voice was neutral. Sarah, I was wrong. It's you, always you. I am so sorry, I have already apologized to Melissa, and we won't talk again. Let's start planning the wedding, I have already bought the rings. He sounded so sincere. And I didn't feel a thing. Ethan, I have a boyfriend. He looked shocked. That is not true, you are saying this to hurt me. I am sorry for what I did, please do not do this. He grabbed my shoulders. His voice was shaking, and he had tears in his eyes. I have moved on, I will spend my life with Luke and not you. We are done forever. He let go of me and started backing up, he looked dead. I watched him until he was gone. For the first time, I felt free. I had told Luke about the meeting with Ethan, I didn't want him to get mad. He didn't care, he was all over me and we were saying things that were embarrassing. I hadn't realized how much fun we had. Ethan just kept coming to see me. He was all cleaned up, wearing his suits and holding flowers, even if they were not my favorite ones. Ethan, do you even understand what I am saying? We are done, do you understand? He gave me the flowers and kept staring at me. One night, Luke and I ran into Ethan at my hotel. He ignored Luke and walked up to me. Luke had enough. Dude, do you even have any shame? You need to leave her alone. Sarah, how do you even know if Luke is telling the truth? He is so rich, he doesn't even need a relationship. Ethan, who are you to say that about anyone else? You don't have the right, I said. We are done, this is the end, go away. You need to go away, you need to act like a decent ex and be dead to me, get it? We are still engaged, I won't give up. He was being so crazy that I pulled Luke away. Luke was fuming in my room, sitting on the couch. He is crazy, he doesn't know what he is saying. Honey, let's get married. I will take you home to meet your folks and we can get married. I need to wipe that stupid smile off his face. He said that I was not a proper fiancé, you need to help me. I laughed, he was so childish. I was happy with the idea of being with him. It was time to go home. When we went home, Luke showed up with bags of gifts and asked my parents for my hand in marriage. He was honest and told them he would marry me. My parents were so happy and they loved him when we were kids, they said yes. Luke took me to the court and we were married. He took my hand and we were holding our marriage certificates. He kept looking at both of them. Then he held my hand, so we were holding them both together. He was so happy. Then I saw them on social media. I will grow old with you. And then 2 pictures, the marriage certificate and our hands with the rings. I liked them both. Chloe sent me a message. You did it. So happy for you. I knew that it would happen. You deserve all the happiness. Thank you. And yes, I am so happy. Sam, on the other hand, fell off the couch when he saw it. Dude, are you okay? You look like you have seen a ghost. This is not good. Sarah and Luke are married. Ethan is going to explode. Is this real? Someone played a trick? I asked around and Luke confirmed it. Ethan walked into the room, everything went quiet. What's up? Why is everything so quiet? Dude, Sarah got married. He could see it happen. He shook his head and said, what? Luke Masters posted it on social media, he married her. Huh? Ethan sat down, poured a drink and downed it, then he drank another one, and then another one. The alcohol was burning his throat, and he was coughing. Everyone was just staring at him. As his friends, they couldn't judge him. That night he drank until he cried, hiding his face. He couldn't understand why this happened. It was the way it was, but why? The room was dark. Luke rolled me over, looking at every part of me. My princess, it is our wedding night. You promised me, I said. I couldn't believe that I agreed to it, I was so gullible. The whole room was spinning, I felt like I was in the ocean. Then the door started to bang and there was someone yelling. Luke, someone is at the door, I said with my hoarse voice. Don't worry, I've got you, he whispered in my ear. The banging was getting worse, I could hear someone yelling my name. I was exhausted and just closed my eyes. Ethan got drunk and told his driver to take him to my place. He got to the door, but couldn't knock. He was there for hours before he knocked on the door and begged. Sarah, I know that I messed up. Please give me another chance, I will never choose someone else. We were meant to be together. Why are you marrying someone else? He was crying, but the room was still quiet. He was thinking about his past with me, and was sad and sorry. He was leaning against the door and banged again. Please just let me see you. He thought he was going to faint, but the door was opening. He looked at the guy in front of him. Luke was there in his robe, looking like he had been sleeping. Why are you knocking at my wife's door in the middle of the night? Do you not have a life? Ethan saw the marks on his collar, and he felt so angry. I need to see Sarah. Luke laughed. Do you really think that my wife would want to see you? Ethan was going to push past him to get into the room. He was going to scream my name. Luke kicked him to the ground. He tried to get back up, but he had been drinking. Luke was looking down at him. I don't want to see your face again. Go away before I hurt you. He closed the door. When we were planning the wedding, Ethan's mom called me. I was nervous to pick it up. My mom could see that I was nervous and took my phone. Hello? Hi, this is Sue. So, since we are going to have to start calling your daughter Mrs. Masters, it looks like you are no longer family. Yeah, that's true. My son is an idiot, and everything is his fault. But he's been locked up in his room and is not eating or drinking, so we were wondering if Sarah could come and visit him. His mom was so upset. My daughter is getting married. It's not possible. I am so sorry. My mom didn't talk to her, but I didn't see Ethan for a long time. My wedding was perfect. The sun was shining. It was a beautiful day. We used a traditional Chinese ceremony. It was amazing. Luke had written our vows. He said them himself. We are family, always and forever. Our two families have come together. Our love is strong. May we live forever in peace, and may our children be happy. This is my vow to you, Luke Masters and Sarah Smith. I am so happy to be your wife. I am so happy to be your husband. I will be yours forever. 3 years later, we had a son. When we were unpacking the baby shower gifts, I saw a box that was not signed. I went to Luke, and he threw it in the trash. I knew who it was from. I just picked it up and put it into the closet, and never opened it. He had sent a gift to our wedding, but I had never seen it. I never worry about those things again. I was watching my family and our son, and Luke was next to him, and I was so happy. He was the one. Ethan's extra chapter. I went to her wedding. She was perfect, just like I had always imagined, more beautiful than ever. I left my gift and left. I didn't want to see her face. I didn't see her for years. They went to NYC, and sometimes when they came back to visit, I made sure to not be there. I didn't want to see her. She went overseas to study and then opened a publishing house. I was up to date with everything that was happening to her. They had a son. I saw him on Sam's phone. He had big eyes. He was very cute. At night, I would remember the way things could have been. She could have been my wife, and we would have kids. My mom was always trying to fix me up with other women. They were all very nice, but nothing happened. I knew that I could never be with someone else. I was stuck in my past, and I would never have a family. I would spend the rest of my life being alone.